If you want to understand why one country has kept obesity under 5%, while much of the developed world exceeds 30%, don't start with gym routines or calorie tracking. Start with what's on the breakfast table. Japan has the longest life expectancy in the world and an obesity rate nearly 10 times lower than that of the United States. What's remarkable is that they're not starving themselves or relying on extreme exercise. Instead, they consistently consume a strategic combination of foods that subtly reprogram how the body stores and burns fat at the cellular level, centered around one key food that many Westerners tend to avoid. Most people believe that staying lean comes down to eating less, moving more, and counting calories. However, after nearly 15 years in emergency medicine and extensive work in metabolic health, I've seen clear evidence that this approach is incomplete. The Japanese diet is relatively high in carbohydrates. White rice is eaten daily, yet rates of metabolic syndrome, visceral fat accumulation, and type 2 diabetes remain among the lowest globally. The real difference isn't the quantity of carbohydrates, but what is consumed alongside them. Nutrients that influence insulin sensitivity, gut microbiota, and fat metabolism in powerful ways. I'm Dr. Susan Miller, and on the 365 Health Guide channel, I share insights grounded in clinical experience and scientific research. Over the years, I've watched many patients lose weight temporarily, only to regain it within months. That pattern led me to explore traditional dietary models beyond Western norms. What I found in the research on Japanese eating patterns was not just informative, it was transformative. Rather than focusing solely on restriction, this approach leverages specific foods that signal fat cells to shrink, regulate appetite hormones through the gut, and activate the body's natural fat-burning systems. These principles have been part of Japanese culture for generations, and they offer a sustainable, science-backed path to metabolic health. In this video, I'll guide you through the key elements behind Japan's remarkably low obesity rate, currently around 4 to 5%, and how these principles can be applied to improve your metabolic health. At the center is a sticky fermented superfood commonly eaten in Japan, shown in laboratory studies to help shrink visceral fat cells and rebalance the gut microbiome within weeks. We'll also examine how a powerful compound in green tea, consumed quite differently in Japan compared to Western countries, can activate brown adipose tissue, your body's internal fat-burning system, increasing calorie expenditure significantly. In addition, I'll explain the traditional dietary framework known as Ichijusansai, which naturally regulates portion sizes without the need for calorie counting. Importantly, Japan's low obesity rate is not primarily driven by genetics. It reflects consistent dietary patterns built around 5 key foods that support metabolism, appetite control, and fat utilization. I'll also highlight common preparation mistakes that can reduce or even eliminate the fat-burning benefits of these foods before they are absorbed by your body. To understand why people in Japan stay lean, you need to focus on a factor most diet programs ignore: the gut microbiome. Think of your digestive system as a highly complex factory where trillions of bacteria process everything you eat. In a well-functioning system, these microbes efficiently extract nutrients, regulate appetite hormones, and send clear signals to your brain to stop eating. However, in many Western populations, this system becomes disrupted. Diets high in processed foods, refined sugars, and low in fiber gradually eliminate beneficial bacteria and promote strains that increase hunger, trigger inflammation, and encourage fat storage, particularly around internal organs. This leads to the accumulation of visceral fat, a dangerous type of fat you cannot see or physically measure. Visceral fat surrounds vital organs such as the liver, pancreas, and intestines, and actively releases inflammatory compounds known as cytokines. These substances play a central role in the development of insulin resistance, cardiovascular disease, and even certain forms of cancer. From a clinical perspective, restoring balance to the gut microbiome is not just about digestion. It is a critical step in regulating metabolism, reducing inflammation, and preventing chronic disease. Here's where Japan's true advantage becomes clear. The traditional diet in Japan is one of the most effective ways to optimize the gut microbiome. It is rich in fermented foods, soluble fiber, marine omega-3s, and polyphenols, nutrients that help repopulate your digestive system with beneficial bacteria that actively support fat metabolism and appetite control. Large-scale global research, including analyses published in leading nutrition science journals, has shown a strong inverse relationship between adherence to a traditional Japanese dietary pattern and obesity rates across more than 100 countries. Even after accounting for economic and lifestyle differences, populations that consumed more fish, soy, seaweed, and vegetables, and less red meat and dairy consistently showed significantly lower obesity levels. This is not a minor effect. It is a profound metabolic shift driven by food quality and composition. These dietary patterns don't just nourish the body, they actively reprogram how it stores and burns fat. The question now is, which specific foods are responsible, and how do they influence your metabolism at the cellular level? Mechanism 1. Fermentation and gut microbiome remodeling. A key driver of metabolic health in Japan is the regular intake of fermented foods, especially natto miso and traditionally brewed soy products. These are not just foods, they function as biological delivery systems that directly influence your gut microbiome. Natto, produced by fermenting soybeans with beneficial bacteria, has been shown to shift the balance between major gut bacterial groups, specifically increasing Bacteroidetes relative to firmicutes. This matters because an imbalance favoring firmicutes has been consistently associated with obesity. By correcting this ratio, natto helps restore a metabolic profile linked to leanness. Clinical and nutritional studies have demonstrated that regular natto consumption can reduce visceral fat in a dose-dependent manner. It also suppresses fat production in the liver while enhancing fat breakdown. Importantly, these effects are significantly stronger than consuming non-fermented soy. Fermentation is the critical step. It transforms soybeans from a nutrient-dense but poorly absorbed food into a highly bioavailable source of isoflavones, enzymes, and probiotics. In simple terms, raw soybeans contain valuable compounds that are difficult for the body to access, while fermentation unlocks those compounds, allowing them to act immediately on gut health and fat metabolism. Mechanism 2. Brown fat activation through catechins. Green tea plays a critical role in metabolic health, but in Japan it's consumed differently. Instead of steeping leaves, the Japanese often drink matcha, a finely ground powder that allows you to ingest the entire leaf. This delivers dramatically higher levels of EGCG, epigallocatechin gallate, a potent compound with direct metabolic effects. EGCG activates brown adipose tissue, a specialized type of fat that burns energy rather than storing it. Through a process called thermogenesis, brown fat generates heat by using stored fat as fuel. Research published in nutrition science journals shows that green tea catechins stimulate a key protein known as UCP1, which acts as the molecular switch for activating this fat-burning process. When UCP1 is upregulated, the body begins converting stored white fat into usable energy. Clinical studies, including research from the University of Geneva, have demonstrated that green tea extract can increase 24-hour energy expenditure, an effect not replicated by caffeine alone. It is the synergy between catechins and caffeine that enhances noradrenaline activity and sustains fat oxidation. In practical terms, this means your body becomes more efficient at burning its own fat stores throughout the day, without relying on extreme calorie restriction or excessive exercise. Mechanism 3. The fiber satiety pathway. The third mechanism is less obvious but equally powerful. The traditional diet in Japan is exceptionally rich in seaweed, root vegetables, barley, and fermented plant foods, providing both soluble and insoluble fiber at levels rarely seen in Western diets. Large population studies, including data from the Fukuoka Diabetes Registry, have shown that higher fiber intake is strongly associated with lower body mass index, improved blood glucose control, reduced triglycerides, and decreased inflammation, even after accounting for calorie intake and lifestyle factors. This highlights a critical point. Metabolic health is not just about how much you eat, but how your body responds to what you eat. Fiber nourishes beneficial gut bacteria, which in turn produce short-chain fatty acids such as butyrate. These compounds play a central role in metabolic regulation. They strengthen the intestinal barrier, reducing the entry of inflammatory molecules into the bloodstream, and communicate directly with the brain through the gut-brain axis to regulate appetite. The result is a natural sense of satiety. Instead of relying on willpower or restriction, you feel full and satisfied with less food, allowing sustainable weight control without deprivation. Let me highlight the research that makes this clear. This is not cultural folklore, but measurable biology. In controlled studies, animals fed natto for several weeks showed significant reductions in body weight, improved cholesterol regulation, and a reshaped gut microbiome, specifically increasing beneficial bacteria while reducing those linked to obesity. Additional models of diet-induced obesity confirmed similar outcomes: lower visceral and liver fat, reduced triglycerides, and a shift from fat storage toward fat breakdown. Human data further strengthens this. Research from the University of Geneva demonstrated that green tea extract containing EGCG and caffeine increased 24-hour energy expenditure by about 4%, while also shifting metabolism toward greater fat oxidation. Notably, caffeine alone had no effect, highlighting the importance of bioactive compounds working together. On a global scale, analyses across more than 100 countries have shown that adherence to traditional dietary patterns in Japan is strongly associated with lower obesity rates, even after adjusting for economic and lifestyle factors. Populations that consume more fish, soy, seaweed, and plant-based foods consistently show better metabolic outcomes. These findings are not theoretical. They are controlled, reproducible, and clinically relevant, demonstrating that specific foods can directly influence weight, metabolism, and overall health at the biological level. Here are the key foods, evidence-based amounts, and proper preparation methods you can start using immediately to support metabolism and fat loss. Food 1. Natto. Consume about 50 grams daily, roughly 1 small pack, ideally at breakfast with rice. Mixing it with soy sauce and mustard improves taste and reflects how it's traditionally eaten in Japan. Its live bacteria survive stomach acid and reach the intestines, making it more effective than many probiotic supplements. Frozen versions remain beneficial after thawing. Food 2. Matcha. Take 1 to 2 teaspoons daily, about 2 to 3 grams. Prepare with warm water, not boiling, to preserve catechins like EGCG. Drinking it in the morning or early afternoon is ideal. Adding lemon can significantly enhance absorption, while cow's milk should be avoided as it reduces bioavailability. Food 3. Miso Soup. 1 bowl daily using unpasteurized miso paste. Dissolve in warm, not hot water or broth to preserve probiotics. Adding seaweed, tofu, and scallions provides both beneficial bacteria and prebiotic fiber. Food 4. Seaweed. Consume 5 to 10 grams, 3 to 4 times per week. Seaweed contains fucoxanthin, a compound shown to support fat metabolism by activating thermogenic pathways. It can be added to soups, salads, or rice dishes. Food 5. Fatty fish. Include 3 servings per week of salmon, mackerel, or sardines. These provide omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA, which support fat oxidation, maintain metabolic activity, and reduce inflammation. Grilling or baking is preferred over frying. Food 6. Pickled vegetables, tsukemono. A small daily portion, 30 to 50 grams, of naturally fermented vegetables helps diversify gut bacteria. Choose traditional fermented options, not vinegar-pickled versions, which lack live cultures. Food 7. Barley or mixed grain rice. Replace plain white rice with a blend, about 70% rice and 30% barley, at least once daily. Barley supports the growth of beneficial gut bacteria that produce butyrate, a key compound for metabolic health and appetite regulation. When applied consistently, these foods work together to improve gut balance, enhance fat burning, and create a sustainable metabolic advantage without extreme dieting. After years of studying metabolic health, these are the key principles that consistently separate those who see real results from those who don't. Tip 1. Timing synergy. Drink matcha about 30 minutes before your largest meal. Its catechins help prime brown fat activation right when your body is processing the most calories, enhancing thermogenesis and fat utilization. Tip 2. Ichiju Sansai Framework. Structure meals the traditional way. 1 soup, 3 sides, and rice. For example, a bowl of miso soup, 1 protein, fish, tofu, or natto, and 2 vegetable sides. This naturally creates a balanced, fiber-rich, portion-controlled meal without counting calories. Tip 3. Fermented food distribution. Instead of consuming fermented foods all at once, spread them throughout the day. Natto at breakfast, miso at lunch, and pickled vegetables at dinner. This maintains a steady supply of beneficial bacteria, improving gut balance and metabolic signaling. Tip 4. Overnight metabolic window. Adopt a natural 11 to 12 hour overnight fasting window, similar to common eating patterns in Japan. Finishing dinner early and eating breakfast the next morning allows the body to shift into fat-burning mode while supporting overnight gut repair. Tip 5. Hara-Hachi-Bu principle. Practice eating until you are about 80% full. Satiety signals take time to reach the brain, so stopping slightly early allows you to feel comfortably satisfied without overeating. Clinically, this simple habit can reduce calorie intake by 15 to 20% without any sense of restriction. Applied together, these strategies optimize metabolism, improve gut health, and support sustainable fat loss without extreme dieting. Let me help you avoid the most common mistakes that prevent real metabolic results. Mistake 1. Inconsistency. The biggest error is trying these foods briefly and quitting too soon. Your gut microbiome requires 4 to 8 weeks to meaningfully adapt. Foods like Natto and Matcha do not deliver instant results. They work through consistent daily intake. Long-term habits, not short-term effort, drive metabolic change. Mistake 2. Incorrect preparation. Both matcha and miso are sensitive to heat. Boiling water can significantly reduce beneficial compounds like EGCG in matcha and destroy probiotics in miso. Use warm, not boiling water, and always add miso after removing heat to preserve its biological activity. Mistake 3. Replacing whole foods with supplements. Relying on extracts instead of whole foods limits results. Supplements isolate single compounds, but whole foods provide a complete matrix: enzymes, fiber, probiotics, and bioactive nutrients working together. For example, Natto delivers far more metabolic benefits than isolated enzymes alone. Mistake 4. Misreading progress. Do not rely solely on the scale. A stable weight with a reduced waist circumference often indicates loss of visceral fat and improved body composition. From a clinical perspective, waist measurement is a more accurate marker of metabolic health than body weight alone. Sustained consistency, proper preparation, and focusing on real physiological changes, not just numbers, are what ultimately determine success. Here's the key message I want you to take away. Weight gain with age is not inevitable, and metabolic decline is not fixed in your DNA. People in Japan are not naturally lean because of genetics alone. When they adopt Western dietary patterns, their obesity rates rise within a single generation, demonstrating that environment and nutrition are the dominant factors. Those who maintain a healthy metabolism into their later decades are not relying on extreme diets or excessive exercise. They consistently nourish the core biological systems that regulate weight: a balanced gut microbiome, active brown fat, low systemic inflammation, and stable blood sugar levels. These systems already exist within your body. They simply require the right nutritional signals to function optimally. From a clinical perspective, food is one of the most powerful regulators of metabolism. Not medication, not restrictive dieting, and not willpower alone. When you consistently choose foods that support these internal systems, you activate the body's natural ability to burn fat, regulate appetite, and maintain long-term health. You can begin reinforcing those signals today, one meal, one habit at a time. Let's bring everything together in a clear, practical way. First, the low obesity rate in Japan, around 4 to 5%, is driven primarily by diet composition, not genetics or calorie restriction. Large global analyses confirm that the more closely a population follows traditional Japanese eating patterns, the lower the obesity rate. Second, Natto plays a central role. About 50 grams daily can help reshape the gut microbiome, improve the balance of beneficial bacteria, reduce visceral fat, and limit fat production in the liver. Third, matcha provides concentrated EGCG, which activates brown fat through UCP1, increasing energy expenditure and shifting the body toward fat burning. 1 to 2 teaspoons daily, prepared with warm water and a bit of lemon, is optimal. Fourth, Miso Soup delivers both probiotics and prebiotic compounds. 1 bowl daily, using unpasteurized miso in warm, not boiling liquid, supports gut and metabolic health. Fifth, seaweed, rich in fucoxanthin, helps stimulate fat metabolism and may encourage white fat to behave more like brown fat. Consuming small amounts several times per week is sufficient. Sixth, Fatty fish such as salmon or mackerel, eaten 3 times weekly, provide omega-3 fatty acids that reduce inflammation and sustain metabolic activity. Seventh, fermented vegetables and barley-based rice blends further diversify the gut microbiome and increase beneficial compounds like butyrate. Eighth, follow the Ichiju Sansai approach and the principle of eating until about 80% full. These habits naturally regulate portions without calorie counting. Finally, track your waist circumference, not just your weight. A reduction in abdominal fat is a far more meaningful indicator of metabolic improvement. Your metabolism is not fixed by age or genetics. It is a dynamic system that responds to what you consistently eat and how you live. When you provide the right inputs, your body adapts, often more quickly than you expect. Thank you for taking the time to invest in your health. I wish you consistency, clarity, and long-term vitality on your journey.